What is up, Fleet fans, and welcome back to my channel. The morning got off to a great start with Black Mirror Bandersnatch, and then I decided to go watch this movie. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it is Holmes and Watson, the brand new Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly movie, a movie that I was slightly intrigued by when I saw the concept. Then I saw the trailer, didn't laugh that much. I knew the movie wouldn't be great. I just didn't know what level it would stoop to. We will get into that in just a second. If you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score. I was planning on seeing Vice, ended up seeing Holmes and Watson just because of the show times. I'll see Vice eventually, and at the end of both of those reviews, I will be placing these movies in my end of the year list. That way you guys can see where they end up. I'll do that at the end of the video, but right now we're talking Holmes and Watson. Let's get it. So a humorous take on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's classic mysteries featuring Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, played by Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. That is the premise of Holmes and Watson. I couldn't tell you what the movie's about, and I just saw it. Guys, this film is everything that you expect it to be. I'm talking on a level that's not very good, but it's so much more than that. This film is a sloppy, uninspired mess. It's not funny. There's nothing about it that can be redeemed by Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. And when you stoop that low and you can't be saved by stars who have been fantastic before, you know it's a loss of a film, but we're talking about the good, so I have to talk about the good parts. I love the chemistry between John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell. I always like them, whether it's Step Brothers or Talladega Nights. You guys know, you've seen the films, and you know it works. That spark is there, and even in a movie like this, I still see that spark. I see the connection between the two, even though the dialogue's bad and the acting's awful surrounding them. Those two really keep this film alive. I mean, literally, they're alive on screen. It's about all I can say about it. And I had two chuckles, one towards the middle, one towards the end. Both jokes were pretty clever, but that is honestly the only clever use of humor that I saw throughout the movie. The entire thing. Let's just get into it. I'm gonna start somewhere you guys didn't expect me to start at. Let's talk about the voiceover dubbing throughout the entire movie. It starts at the beginning when for some reason you're seeing Sherlock Holmes when he was a young lad, and that scene alone showed us some of the worst dubbing. I'm talking, this kid's mouth is moving, the words are not matching up whatsoever, and it continues to happen. Not just that scene, throughout the entire movie. The worst example is the final scene when they're sitting at the bar, that's all I'll say, but this kid walks over and says something, and I swear his mouth was not even close to the words coming out, and I'm pretty sure the person talking wasn't even a kid. It sounded like a man making a kid's voice. It was really weird. But it always bothers me in movies when they try to hide that and don't get away with it, but at least sometimes films will try to hide it. Holmes and Watson did not even try. There are multiple times when Will Ferrell is moving his mouth and the words aren't matching up. You can tell it's a voiceover because you hear background noise, and then you don't hear background noise. You may not pay attention to these things, but trust me, when you watch this movie, you don't have to pay attention. You can be having a conversation with somebody else and say, his lips aren't matching up to the words. Just really lazy, cheap decisions like that that made this film completely uninspired. There are multiple scenes where they eat onions because it's this joke. It's this really funny joke where they keep eating onions, and you can just tell it's not an onion. That's clearly an apple. You are eating an apple. All you did was wrap the outside with an onion to make the audience think, but you need to do better than that. They didn't even attempt to cover it up. You could tell they weren't eating onions. Come on, guys. If you're going to make a movie with two of the best comedians in the business, make the movie good. And I'm not trying to get political, but they poke fun at Trump like 5 or 6 times, and it starts out, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of clever what they did, haha, funny, and then it just keeps getting more on the nose and more on the nose, and by the end, they literally say the word Trump. I'm like, all right, first of all, in about 20 years, these jokes may not age as well as you think they're going to. Second of all, it's not funny. Quit with trying to repeat the modern humor. Take Sherlock Holmes. Take the character of Sherlock Holmes. There are 1 or 2 things in here where I'm like, yeah, that's a spoof of Sherlock Holmes. The rest of the film is a spoof on politics and millennials and things that the directors are looking at and going, well, what are these millennials going to like? Oh, they love Talladega Nights and they love Step Brothers. Let's have them repeat the exact same formula that they had in those movies, just make it less funny with a less powerful script and a story that does not make sense whatsoever whatsoever. This entire storyline is so dumb and so pointless. They're after this villain and you don't care. You don't care about any of it. And I have to be honest with you guys. Are you ready? This is the first time all year, and I have tried the entire year. I've sat through crappy movie after crappy movie. First time all year, I fell asleep for about 15 minutes. So you know what? I have no right to judge. Maybe that 15 minutes is the best 15 minutes that cinema has ever given us, but I can only judge what I saw of the film, and the rest, the other hour and 15 minutes of the movie, I can vouch for it. Not in a good way, it's not good. And then to top off the horrible script, the bad supporting actors, all of that, there is a scene towards the end where they just literally break out in song and start frolicking, and once again the really bad dubbing, but it turns into a musical, I kid you not, and it is some of the worst, just most cringeworthy. I was sitting there like, are they really doing this? Are they making this? Stop. Stop. The decisions made in Holmes and Watson are truly ridiculous. Some people may laugh. There was one couple next to me and they were cracking up the entire movie, and I'm like, guys, more power to you. That's incredible that you love this film. I absolutely despised it. Look, if you guys like John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell, there are plenty of movies that you can just do a Google search and rent them on Amazon Prime, find them on Netflix. I don't care, but do not see Holmes and Watson. This is the first movie in a few months that I have said I do not want you guys to go out and it's set. I said this about Slender Man for horror films. It almost set comedies back like a decade because this is what we're sick of. We were getting new and inventive comedies. We've had Game Night. We've even had something like Blockers. Holmes and Watson, what are you doing? Will Ferrell, we need you to get back on track, man. You used to kill it. What happened? John C. Reilly, you're doing pretty good. And all of those things being said, just because I like seeing Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly back together again, it gives me that little taste of the Step Brothers sequel I've been asking for. I'm going to give this movie an 18%. I chuckled occasionally, and the entire time I was sitting there with my arms crossed. I was upset. I wanted this film to be better, guys. I don't like going into a movie thinking, oh, this is going to be terrible, but I walked out believing that Holmes and Watson is one of the worst movies of the year, and as you guys are seeing now, this movie is clearly in my top 10 worst of the year. And I think that's a pretty good spot for it. I wish I would have watched this before I made that list, but sometimes you just have to hold off, and that's what I did for Holmes and Watson. I will be watching Vice very soon. Tomorrow is my Netflix television shows ranked. I'm going to be ranking my top 5, and then most anticipated movies of 2019. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos, and I will catch you very soon.